so that's not, crazy. That's realistic. If I said to you, I want to lose 10 pounds, and if I see you Friday, you can weigh me, and I'll lose it in 3 days, I think you'd say, no, that's not realistic, okay? So time-based, again, has a beginning and it has a ending date, and that way, hopefully, you can work toward it. But I could tell you all day, every day, yep, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by the end of February. Going to do it. And again, you think all of this. And then your question should be, how? And if I say, well, just by, I don't know, trying hard. You look at me and say, well, no, but what's the plan? How are you going to do that? Well, I don't know. I'm just going to get up every morning and weigh myself and hope that it's less. You look at me and say, well, that's probably not going to work. But if I told you, you know what, I am going to not eat anything after 7 o'clock at night. I'm going to go out for a half hour to an hour walk 5 days a week, and I'm not going to go out to any fast food restaurants for the month of February. Then you're thinking, well, I'm not sure that's like completely enough, but that's a pretty specific and action-oriented plan, because now I can just follow my plan. Okay, the more you have plans in life and you just say, yeah, one day I'm going to hope to do this, you never really get there. You just sort of drift on. If you can learn to do this, all 5 of these, then at least a plan is very specific and you have a target that you can move toward. Okay, so what does this have to do specifically with school? Well, at the bottom of the page, again, this is something for the sake of time that I'm not going to really have you fill out today during the workshop, but you can do it later on your own if you like. And that would be for you to write every class that you're taking this semester, and then to write the grade goal. And I want to explain that for just a second. What would be the grade goal for most people when they start taking a class? Yeah, A. Right, but the one thing you don't want to do necessarily, and I've had people do this all the time, is that they write all their classes and then I look and it says A. And I look at that and say, well, that's a good goal, but is it realistic or not? Most of you probably know, even though it's only the 4th week, and I know you haven't gotten deeply into your classes yet, you know which ones are harder than other ones and which ones you may struggle with more. I always tell people that if you have a class, any class in college, and you have to use both hands to pick up the book, that's going to be a hard class, okay? And so the idea is to be realistic and to say, okay, in my English class, I know that I can get an A if I work really hard. So that's realistic. I'm going to have to stretch a little, but I can do it. In my biology class, I would go out and have a party if I got a B, because it's a really hard class and I'd love to get an A, but I just know it's going to be extra tough for me. Math, I hate math. If I pass, I'm going to do cartwheels down the street for the next 10 years. And so you put down a goal that you feel is realistic for you, okay? And then the other part of this is the most important part. That's kind of why I went through this with you, is what are you going to do to reach that goal? And so I've had students before, for example, who are in math, and especially if math is their least favorite subject, they say, I'm going to go for a B. And that's a pretty big leap for me, but I'm going to go for a B. And I say, okay, how are you going to get the B? And they say, do well. And I said, yeah, I know, but how are you going to do well? They say, well, I'm just going to try really hard. Well, that doesn't really fit these very much, so then I keep pressing them in a nice way, I hope, and here's what they finally come up with, just as an example. They say, in order to get